Ever look up at a dead branch hanging over your driveway or your roof and think, I really need to get that down before it falls on something? So you call a tree service and they quote you $200, $300, maybe even $400 just to cut one branch. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to take down that branch yourself in about 10 minutes for around $3. And you won't need to climb anything or drag out a ladder. Plus, stick around to the end, where I'll share a trick for reaching branches that seem impossibly high. Let's get into it. Taking down a high branch is one of those jobs that looks way more complicated than it actually is. The truth is, with a simple tool called a rope saw and a little bit of technique, you can safely cut branches 20, 30, even 40 feet up while keeping both feet planted firmly on the ground. Once you understand how this works, you'll wonder why you ever considered paying someone else to do it. So, let's start by talking about what you'll need and how a rope saw actually works. A rope saw is basically a chainsaw blade with a rope attached to each end. You get it up and over the branch, pull on both ends in a back and forth motion, and the teeth cut through the wood. They're incredibly simple, and you can pick one up on Amazon for just a few dollars. Now, the blade itself comes in different lengths. I recommend getting one that's at least 36 inches long, because it gives you a nice wide cutting arc. Shorter blades work, but you'll be sawing a lot longer. Along with your rope saw, you'll need about 50 to 70 feet of lightweight rope. I like using 3/8 inch nylon rope because it's strong, it doesn't tangle easily, and it's cheap. You can get a 100-foot bundle at any hardware store for under $10. You'll also need something to use as a throw weight. Now, in a pinch, you can use a hammer like I've done plenty of times, but a small sandbag or a tennis ball stuffed into a sock works even better because it won't damage anything if your aim is off. And trust me, your aim will be off at least once or twice. Lastly, grab a pair of leather gloves. When you're pulling that rope back and forth, it can really heat up and rub your hands raw if you're not careful. Before you toss anything into the air, take a minute to prepare your rope properly. This step is easy to skip, but it'll save you a lot of frustration. Lay your rope out on the ground and walk the entire length of it, checking for knots, tangles, or kinks. If you've got a knot buried in the middle of that rope and you don't catch it, here's what happens. You make a perfect throw, the rope starts flying up, and then it hits that knot and stops dead. Your throw weight comes crashing back down, sometimes right at you. So walk that rope, work out any tangles, and coil it loosely at your feet. I like to make big loops, maybe 2 feet across, and just let them fall in a pile. You don't need a fancy coil. You just need it to feed out smoothly when you throw. Now tie your throw weight onto one end of the rope. If you're using a hammer, tie it right through the hole in the handle with a good tight knot. A bowline works great, or even just a few half hitches pulled really snug. Give it a good tug to make sure it's secure. The last thing you want is your hammer flying off the rope and through your neighbor's window. Now comes the fun part. Stand back from the tree and look at where you want to cut that branch. You want to cut it as close to the trunk or the main limb as you can, without actually hitting the trunk with your saw. Pick a spot and visualize getting your rope over the branch just past that point. Now, before you throw, look around. Make sure nobody is nearby, no kids playing, no one walking a dog, nobody who could catch a hammer to the head. This is important. I always yell out a quick heads up, even if I think I'm alone, just in case. All right, with your rope, coiled at your feet and your throw weight in hand, take aim and toss it up and over the branch. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, this might take a few tries. If the branch is 30 feet up, you need a pretty good throw. What helps me is an underhand swing with a lot of follow-through, almost like you're lobbing a softball. Let the weight do the work. If you throw too hard, you'll lose accuracy. Too soft and you won't get the height. Once you get it over, the weight will drop down on the other side, and you'll have both ends of the rope in your hands. If it lands a little further out on the branch than you wanted, that's okay. You can adjust. Just let out some slack, give a little shake, and the weight will slide back down toward the trunk. If you're finding this helpful so far, Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more tips like this. Alright, let's keep going. With both ends of your rope hanging down, untie your throw weight and set it aside. Now it's time to attach your rope saw. Here's where a lot of people make mistakes, so pay attention. Look at your rope saw blade closely. You'll notice the teeth only face one direction. When you get it up in the tree, those teeth need to be facing the wood you're cutting, which is the branch side, not the trunk side. If you put it on backwards, you'll be pulling and wondering why nothing's happening. I've done it myself. It's embarrassing, but now you know. Each end of your rope saw has a handle or a ring. Take one end of your rope and tie it securely to one handle. Then take the other end of your rope and tie it to the other handle. Use a knot that won't slip. I like a double fisherman's knot or even just a really tight bowline. Here's the key. Once you've tied both ends, pull on each rope in opposite directions, hard. That knot needs to stay tight when you're sawing. If it slips loose while you're cutting, your blade drops and you have to start all over. So really test those knots before you send the blade up. Now, carefully pull on one side of the rope to raise your saw blade up to the branch. Go slow here. You want to keep that blade out of the dirt and away from the bark on the way up. A little dirt on the teeth won't ruin it, but it'll dull the blade faster. As the blade gets close to the branch, position it right where you want to make your cut. Pull on alternate ends of the rope to walk the blade into place. Once it's seated against the bottom of the branch, you're ready to cut. Stand off to one side of the branch, not underneath it. I can't stress this enough. When that branch lets go, gravity takes over and it's coming straight down. You do not want to be standing in the drop zone. I usually stand at about a 45-degree angle from where the branch will fall, and I keep looking up as I work. Now grip both ropes, one in each hand, and start pulling in a smooth back and forth rhythm. Pull the left rope, then the right, then the left, like you're working a big two-person crosscut saw. Let the teeth do the cutting. You don't need to yank or jerk. Smooth, steady strokes are faster and easier on your arms. You'll hear the blade start to bite into the wood, and you'll feel the resistance change as you cut deeper. Depending on how thick the branch is, this might take 2 minutes, or it might take 10. A 4-inch branch usually comes down in about 3 to 5 minutes of steady sawing. Keep your rhythm going, and every so often, look up to check your progress. When you're about 3/4 of the way through, the branch is going to start to sag. That's your warning. A few more strokes and it's coming down. Keep sawing, stay out of the drop zone, and let it fall. Once it's down, you can carefully lower your rope saw back to the ground. Untie it, coil up your rope, and you're done. That branch that would have cost you $300 is now on the ground, and you did it yourself for the cost of a cup of coffee. Sometimes, things don't go perfectly on the first try, so let me walk you through a few problems you might run into. If your throw weight keeps getting stuck in smaller branches on the way up, try aiming for a clearer path, or switch to a heavier weight that will punch through the small stuff. If your rope keeps tangling mid-throw, you didn't prep it well enough. Lay it out again and really work out those kinks. If your saw blade keeps slipping out of the cut, you might be sawing at too steep an angle. Try to keep your pull more horizontal so the blade stays seated in the groove. And if your knots keep coming loose, switch to a more secure knot and really cinch it down before you send the blade up. Most problems come down to preparation, so take your time with the setup and the cutting will go smoothly. Now for that bonus tip I promised. If you've got a branch that's way up there, 50 or 60 feet, and you just can't throw that high, here's what you do. Tie your weight to a fishing line instead of your rope and use a slingshot to launch it over the branch. Once the line is over, tie your rope to the other end of the fishing line and pull it through. Now you've got your rope in place without needing a major league arm. So that's everything you need to know to take down a tall branch yourself without spending a fortune or risking your neck on a ladder. If this helped you out, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. And if you've got any questions or your own tips for trimming high branches, drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.